Mikuro zanzan hanumi. Midogajia. Huele towe dogajia. We're excited to bring this to you, and you may notice a difference in the greeting at the beginning. Mikudo hanumi, which is the greetings to our extended family. Hanu is an extended family in the Dahomian tradition. So we're quite excited to bring to you a message that is sorely lacking in African tradition today. And we call it Ife in Yoruba, or Wanyi or Yi in Fombe, which is love. Do not let these very angry people in the traditions fool you, tell you things like love is a European construct. Love it's not really an important thing in African tradition. We have sacred Itan. Itan is like history, but it also is a sacred story. We have many sacred Itan that refer to, that it's replete with issues of love. Love, hate, marriage, all that type of stuff, you know. But we're concerned here with love because that's a missing element a lot of times in the teachings of African traditions today, and misunderstood for those that even, you know, believe in the concept. So we want to start by saying, even in our tradition, in the Isheshe tradition, Ife is considered a deity. It's an Orisha. Ife is love. So, I want to begin with, you know, we're titling this Wanyi, what Vodun has taught us about love. A lot of us think we know what it is. We think we know what it feels like, and all of that. But we start off by saying this. Real love does not want anything. Real love does not want anything. And primarily this lesson will be aimed more at couples, but by extension it could be applied to your mundane relations, you know, with your family or friends or whatnot. Real love does not look at another person in terms of how they can add meaning or enhancement to their lives, contrary to what you may think. You want to get all of the, you know, dispel that big myth. To do so would be to treat that person as a means to an end, and thus as a kind of object in the goals of your personal agenda. So the latter is truly European. So it's not that love is a European construct, it's how we carry out love, or what we call love. We follow it in a European way. The European way is very objective. Real love is not grounded in how two individuals can emotionally benefit from one another in areas they may lack. Key word, lack. You know, a lot of people come together as incomplete beings, and we talked about this in other videos. We talked about the soul retrieval and the soul being displaced and lodged in certain places and whatnot. So a lot of people come in lacking, you know, as two greatly lacking individuals, whether it be a mundane or intimate relationship. And, you know, as soon as the butterflies go away and all of that, all the hype at the beginning, you know, and that could take a year, that could take 6 months, that could take 2 years, then it's out the door. It's because real love is not there, because the lacking is still there. And that's what the person has come there looking for the other person, in the other person, to fulfill that which is lacking in him or her a lot of times. Love is about appreciating the soul of another person and desiring to share that close magical space with someone, as opposed to treating them as a means to satisfy the desires of a needy heart. That individual is their own person and needs to be recognized as such. They are not an accessory, a stress ball, or a comfort pillow, right? They may add comfort to your life, which is great. They may even be everything you thought you ever wanted from a partner. But there's the ultimate test to see if you actually love them, or if you only love what they can offer you. Once again, an objective view. And the test is this: go inside yourself quietly and meditate. Meditate within yourself. Contemplate your relationship with your partner or your friend. Even we want because this is a template that can be applied to intimate and mundane, as we said, plutonic. Visualize them in your mind right now. Do this right now and say these words: I love you and want the best for you, even if it doesn't involve me. See if you really mean that. It's only you. You can't really lie to yourself. You can lie to yourself, but the best person to be honest with is to yourself. And right then you'll know, as you say that, even just to yourself, the feeling that you have in your heart, which is the region of being of the solar plexus, will let you know if you really mean that. I personally say, for my, within myself, Mawu's will is for your life. Mawu's will is for your life, even if it means I can't be a part of it. That's my dokbe, which is a chant. Some people would say a mantra to those that I love. Of course, it doesn't mean that you can't be a part of the life. But if you can honestly say this within yourself, then you are loving them from a space of appreciation and sincerity. To tell someone this is a person, tell someone this in person, forgive me, is the greatest form of love you could express to them. So doing it as a practice to yourself, getting familiarizing your spirit with the even idea of that, and then going forth, telling somebody that's a deep thing, believe it or not. It helps you mature. This means that if going to another country to take another job opportunity would be best, keyword best, for them, you would accept this and support this, even if it makes you uncomfortable inside thinking about being lonely. If being with another person would be best serving them, then so be it accordingly. And we are definitely, at a point at that time we're talking about an intimate relationship. We're talking about getting oracles and elders and all this type of stuff involved. So once again, key word here is best. And best being based on time-honored wisdom, common sense, observation. We get into a habit of looking at people through the eyes of our own personal needs and lackings, and then bring them into our lives to fill a void within us. Now come on, think about it. Let's just be honest with ourselves. We're lacking, we bring them up, bringing them in to fill voids, but we're unnecessarily taking ashe from them to fill our void. Love is not about how a person can personally serve your needs or enhance your social image. So brothers, it ain't about the eye candy, how good your wife looks in the African dress or the gele and whatnot. It's not even about her being so-called, a lot of people would say, conscious. It's about the heart. It's about where your heart is and where her heart is. She happens to look good in public, so be it. But let's see if we can look better on the inside. We all know how celebrities get together and this is over with. 6 months, that's about the average one of them. This is because they interact with the person as a sort of fashion accessory to contemplate their own lacking and complete their sense of not being. And celebrities, that's the most obvious example, but people do this every day with each other. Love is about leaving yourself, your needs, your desires, your wants completely out of the equation and appreciating the shared space of intimacy with an individual in the case of an intimate relationship or friendship, shared friendship space. Love is about them, the other person. That's hard to get your mind around if you're thinking in European terms of love. Love is about them and the space you share. It's not about you at all. Get in touch with their soul. If you saw their soul, you would see that the only thing true love wants is for them to be happy. So we say love is not about you, it's about them. And we say the same thing to them. So that way we have 100-100 coming together, not 50-50. We have 100-100. The giving up of self on both sides. Knowing the difference between love and comfort. Let's talk about that. There's not a single human being that has ever existed who has had 100% of all their egoistic needs and wants satisfied at any given point in his or her life. Yet we expect relationships to do this for us. You know, it's kind of like, what I don't do for myself, she'll do it. You know, and he'll do it in the case of a woman towards a man. It's really important to get clear with yourself as to what you're actually seeking. Ask these questions. Keep them in the full. Put them on your wall or your kitchen at near a shrine, on your refrigerator. You know, why do we desire XYZ in our life? What do we really want out of life and why? What are we searching for? What do we lack? That's a big one. What do I, as a person, lack? And what are we doing in our daily lives to either transcend or remedy these lackings? And most importantly, why do we want to be in a relationship anyway? It's important to be super honest with ourselves when we answer these questions. We often carry around holes within us and look to others to fill those holes for us. When we encounter someone who seems to fill those holes in us, it gives us a sort of emotional comfort. Perhaps we are scared of being alone. We are frightened by the thought of not having someone super close to us in our life. We are terrified by the thought of laying down to sleep each night without resting on the emotional cushion of being in a relationship. We thus oftentimes confuse love with that which comforts our fear. Wow. So we coming into a lot of these situations under a guise, you know. Some of us are conscious of it, some are not. But the guise is you know, is a false intention, so to speak. Not really malicious, because people are looking to be completed by other people. So it's not a malicious thing. But most people are not even aware of that. So that's why you have to self-check yourself, write out your own personal mission plan. What we do at Ganlodo is we write mission plans out, mission statements rather. The individual writes a mission statement in relation to him or herself. He or she writes a mission statement in relation to how they plan to develop in the culture, what they want this culture for. One of the most important things when it comes to relationship, they also write a mission statement towards each other for their marriage track plan, you know, on the track of eventually becoming officially married. So, you know, that's important to keep in mind there. So, we look for love from the outside as a substitute for the self-love we lack for ourselves a lot. We desperately seek for temporary relationships to give us a sort of emotional high for a season. When we achieve what appears to be love, we later realize down the road that we only really wanted to be in a relationship with them because we lacked XYZ at a certain time in our lives. Maybe, you know, think about it, you know, those of us that are in meaningful relationships and marriages like ourselves, we can look back at times and say, you know, why did I date that person? You know, well, I was only with them because of this and that. Well, you know, it's not fair to the other person nor yourself, your own soul. Think about how you cheat your own soul in life, you know. So you have to be strong along the way. And once again, this comes with maturity. These are not things that were taught to us as we grew up. We didn't grow up in this culture, or we didn't grow up with, you know, these particular pinpointed values given to us. So we having to feel our way. You know, we bumped in the darkness for years and years, some people for 20, 30 years, before they got to this space where we're talking about Vodun and love and all this type of stuff. Maybe we lack excitement in our lives due to spiritual stagnancy, and we're looking to a partner to preoccupy our bored minds. On top of the fact that we had with that person, what we had with that person was really just comfort and not love. We only stuck around for so long because we were scared of the thought of being alone, or of having to start all over from the ground up. If you're going into a relationship for the purpose of receiving personal comfort, or stick around for a purpose of maintaining comfort, it's not really love. I'll tell you that right now. We don't even have to do a reading for that. Of course, in love, being in love will offer you comfort, but comfort is not itself love. So we're trying to train your minds right now to assess love versus comfort. And let's say you find out you're in a comfort situation in your, you have to be honest with yourself and say, well, I'm feeling comfort. It doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't be with that person, because that person could sincerely love you. And there's a part of you with the true definition of Wanyi that does love them. So what you do is cultivate real love. It's not that you just have to let it go if you find out I'm feeling comfort, unless it's a possible detrimental situation, when you really assess and line up everything, which that could be take counseling and readings and whatnot. Knowing the difference between feeling love and the thought of feeling love. I myself believe in and know through experience Mawulisa. This is an example we're going to use about knowing what people call God versus believing in God. As a Vodunvi, I know in. We're using new terminology even in Whitey. We know in, not believe in. So we know in Mawulisa. Like most people say, I believe in God, where we know in Mawulisa. On the basis of philosophical argumentation, grounded in empirical data, and personal experience of spirit, which is the most important. There's a huge distinction that needs to be made between actually sensing Mawulisa's presence and the thought of sensing Mawulisa's presence. The thought of it versus actually sensing it. A lot of non-believers and atheists will say, so you look to the sky, think about the idea of a God who loves you, get a warm feeling from thinking this, and then attribute it to divine revelation. And we say, along with them, that's ridiculous. They're right to say this. Most people only believe in quote unquote God or in their experience of God because of emotional reasons. Let's look at the black church. We don't want to pick on them. There's some very good people in the church. We're not talking about character. We're talking about misdirected religious practices that could become spiritual if they truly experience their ancestors and Mawulisa. It feels good to believe in a God who loves you, but is the feeling we get from thinking about Mawulisa the same as actually sensing and knowing Mawulisa? So let's take this to relationships. And this is a key point. This is sad to say, but life experience has taught us this, not only just as being a Bokono, Babalawo, spiritualist, but life. Most people are not actually in love. They're not. They are in love with the idea of being in love. The idea of love. Which is, and that's the part where, we would have to agree with some of the conscious people, whatnot, when they say, they talk about romance, and they'll say romance is not part of African tradition. Well, if we use that term romance, it goes back to Roman and all that, so we could get technical with the terminology. But the idea behind romance There is nothing wrong with that. Whining, dining, flowers for your wife, your husband, your fiance. But the problem is, and where the conscious people don't get it up, they're even equating romance with love. Romance, or whatever term you want to call it, we call it yiblo in Fonbe. Romance or yiblo is an appendage, fifth, second, fourth, third, fourth, fifth dairy appendage to what Wanyi love really is. So it's kind of like one of those things that's an outgrowth of real love. You know, you do that for somebody you really love versus equating that romance as love. And that's where a lot of our sisters, growing up in this society, you know, they've gotten that wrong. They equate a guy romancing them as that, you know, he loves them. Romance can be faked, big time. And sisters often see that when they later on down the line say he doesn't do this, doesn't do that anymore. He romanced you at the beginning, you equated it as love to get you, you know, romance to get you or whatever, and now you're stuck. You say he don't love you anymore. He may never have loved you, to be honest with you. In past relationships, I used to rehearse instances in my mind involving my relationship that made me feel as though I was loved. And just give you a personal example. This is a long time ago, as Bernie Mac said. I would repeat phrases in my mind or visualize past occurrences and then would get that warm feeling, you know. One of these past relationships lasted for a few months and was not actually grounded in anything substantial. I confused the thought of being loved with the actual experience of love. This is what often happens in a lot of divorce and breakup situations. People hang on to a relationship because the idea of not being loved by them is too painful to bear. Or the idea of being loved feels good inside. The idea. Reinforcing lacking with an idea that doesn't last long, it doesn't have much I share. When someone tells you, I love you, we say in Yoruba, mofel, you know, I love you, mofel. And this is a chemical thing. We want to, you know, we feel that this is important to know. When someone tells you I love you, oxytocin and serotonin get released in the body immediately. And that's if you're open to that particular person telling you that they love you. If you keep revisiting the phrase in your mind over and over, these chemicals will be released continuously, which is why you still get that same feeling days, hours, and years after the initial event. Literally, the thought of feeling being loved is the same biochemically as actually hearing someone say it. The thought and the saying are together. So oftentimes we don't even interact with the raw, boundless essence of true love. We only interact with the personal idea of being loved and the chemicals it produces. Wow. We see I love you so much, quote unquote, I love you so much, on our phone or typed out an email with smiley faces and all that. We feel good inside. We get those warm butterflies when we reflect upon it, and our brains adjust to a new state which is less fearful and more blissful. Sounds good. We may even think, wow, this person really loves me. I love them so much. You know, OMG. Finally someone who truly loves me. This creates a superficial sensation in our energy field, a shift in our chemistry, and a sort of mood which we attribute to the works of the true love that everybody talks about. So it's an illusion, big illusion. As a test, we could all sit here, close our eyes, and imagine what the most perfect love in the world would be and feel like. If we believe we would one day achieve this, or if we believe in our minds that we already have achieved this, our chemistry will shift immediately. That's just a fact. We can create that experience biochemically right now without it actually existing in reality. So, you know, you have to ask, so, you know, is love more than a change of emotion? Our egos like the thought of being in a passionate romance. Remember when we talked about romance? Like we see in the movies, or in a mysterious, intricate kind of love that we read about in poetry. And it's fine to seek this and desire this. As we said, what is called romance is an appendage. But in the same way that thinking about Mawu Lisa isn't the same as personally knowing Mawu Lisa, thinking about being in love isn't the same as actually knowing love. This is the essence of, at best, we can call it pseudo-love. It is a combination of the desire to be loved, mixed with the desire to love, and these two ingredients create an experience inside of us that we believe to be love itself. In reality, this pseudo-love is just a desire-based mood created by the mind as opposed to being an experience shared between two people from heart to heart. Okan ni okan. Without there being true ejiwapo. Ejiwapo in Yoruba, that means two-ness, twinness, being on the same page. The experience of true love is that of the supernatural, so to speak. The experience of love is what people use to search their entire lives for and would even risk their lives for. Real love is wanting what is best for the individual, even if it means never talking to them again. Real love looks at the person through the eyes of Mawu Lisa and the Kulito Gangan, not through the eyes of personal desires, emotional gaps, and commercialized idea of love. How they dress, how they look in certain clothes, their shape. What has happened to Africans is that we follow a society whereas we look at others as a means to our ends, as objects. We see them as they relate to our level of comfort, our social image, our desires, our fears, and our thoughts about ourselves. We have confused real intimate love with personal gap filling and lust. It's grown men and women, 30s, mid-30s, late 30s, 40s, 50s, still confusing love with lust. That is a crying shame. We have confused love with comfort. Once again, we have confused love with the idea of being in love. We're reinforcing the comfort and the idea thing so that it could be a constant reverberation in your head so that you may meditate upon it. There's a saying that two incomplete people cannot complete one another. Only you can complete yourself. This may sound a bit odd, but you only need yourself to be content. You don't need someone else to rectify your existence. Relationships should only be something that you choose to partake in freely, not something that you need to partake in out of emotional necessity or lacking. This is yet another good reason we consult our oracles as we advance in relationships. It's very key to have the oracle checked along the way in our relationships. And that goes for friendships, but in particular, intimate relationships. Work on you and find out who and what you really are. Upon doing this, you will find that you yourself are ye or Wanyi, love. So is your partner or your friend. So love them as love and not as an object or an idea. The day we start loving selflessly, loving without fear, and loving from our hearts instead of from our minds is the day we will put an end to the era of fake relationships and all this unnecessary falling out and battles forever. Love is real. Let's remember love and what it truly means, as we have detailed in this treatise, and we want to expound on this more. We definitely welcome feedback from the select few that have been chosen to that we share our videos with, and we're truly thankful for your input and for even giving us the many compliments and the encourage to go ahead, to keep going, to teach the select few that you are here. So reflect on Wanyi or Ife, love. Become love. Love yourself. Assess how you're dealing with your, especially your intimate relationship. Is this love? Is this lust? Is it a combination of lust and comfort? What can you do to change it? You know, ask yourself that, ask your ancestors. We're open to emails and conversations about this to help you along the way with this through our experience. And Ache Numi, Odigba, O